And it's Thursday and it's noon, 12 noon. And that means we are doing our next live in my single series. So welcome, my name is Tanya. I'm talking today from my page Botanicamy, an alchemy of soothing botanic ingredients. And today we're going to be talking about something very woody. That's also really grounding, which is incredibly good for the emotions, especially since we are going into the festive season really, really soon. So if you've just joined in, welcome. Please go and pop something in the comments so I can see that you've logged in. And let's get today started. I can see some hearts coming. Don't see who they're from. So maybe just go put some comments or put something in the comments so I can see who it's from. So Shirley, I can see that you're on. Fantastic. Welcome. Zahira also logging in. Marie, yay, you're saying hi there. Welcome. Today we are going to be talking about something that's going to be really good in soothing some of those occasional anxious feelings, right? I think we all need that going into the festive season. I mean, what happened? We had like January, February, lockdown, festive season. That basically sums up 2020 for you, right? So let's see how we're going to get on with today's essential oil. I think it's going to really benefit or support quite a few people. Morning, Shirley. There we go. I can see the comments coming through now. Okay, so let's get started. Today's actually a very docile oil in a sense. It doesn't have an incredibly strong aroma, but it is definitely one of my favorites, and I'm so glad that it's available in South Africa now, because I used to have to import mine from the UK, so I really used it quite sparingly, because obviously I knew how difficult it was going to get it back into the country, specifically with imports also being limited so much in 2020. But luckily it is in South Africa now, so you can definitely get it in your back office or in your online shop and purchase it online. So that's really exciting. And today we are talking, of course, about cedarwood. So cedarwood is actually also known as the red cedar, eastern red cedar, Virginian juniper, eastern juniper, red juniper. There's so many different names for this. And the species name is actually Juniperus virginiana. There we go, funny scientific name there. I'm going to say that again, Virginiana. There we go. All right. Oh, welcome. I can see Shilpa, you're a new viewer today. Very welcome to my live. I have not seen you on here before, so I'm quite excited if I've got some new viewers. So let's not get confused about that Juniperus that is in the genus name there. Specifically, Marie, I'm talking about you now because I know that both of us are really avid gin drinkers, right? So it's not the juniper berry, unfortunately, but it is from the same genus. So these trees are actually, they can reach around 900, I think the oldest one was about 945 years, but these trees actually do grow for a very, very long time. And the beauty about these trees is that they are very rich. The flavor of the essential oil is very rich and warm, and it's got a really nice woody scent. And cedarwood actually has very many benefits, because there's almost 42 different chemical constituents in a cedarwood essential oil. There's obviously 3 of them that are there in the highest percentages, but it's always those tiny ones that also contribute. And I think that's the difference between using something natural versus using something pharmaceutical, which is lab produced and usually isolated, right? So just the one chemical constituent, instead of having all the supporting benefits from all the other chemical constituents that we do then have in a very rich cedar essential oil like we do. So the cedarwood, or the red cedarwood, is native to very cold areas, and it thrives in quite high altitudes. And it can grow up to 30 to 40 meters tall. Very, very majestic tree, if you ask me. And it also, reminiscent of its size and strength, is obviously that it's a wood oil, and because it's distilled from the wood, right? The cedar wood has a very grounding aroma. And when you have a tree that's tall, it's got to have a really good root system, so it doesn't flop over. And usually plants that have got very fixed and very deep root systems offer quite a lot of emotional support, grounding support, and sort of calming support. So always reflecting what the plant looks like, what it does, versus what is going on in the human body. So let's talk about the chemical constituents, because I said there's around 42 of them in the cedarwood essential oil. But basically the 3 that are main components are the alpha-cedrine and the cedrols. And these are all sesquiterpene alcohols, right? And if we think about what the sesquiterpene alcohols do, just a little bit on the chemistry side there, aromatically, when you use them, they are incredibly relaxing. They're very good at soothing occasional anxious feelings. And then topically, they've got repelling activity, and I'll be giving you some top tips about how to use cedarwood, especially since we're going into festive season. Most of us travel. Guess what comes with that? The mosquitoes. So we're talking a little bit about that. Also really rejuvenating to the skin, and we'll mention some of that as well. Chuki's saying, love all the trees and amazed at the oils. Yes, trees are really, really good. We even have Haley in today. Wow. Haven't seen you in a while. Welcome. Thank you. She's saying, hope you're all healed up. When your ligaments are torn off, I think it takes a little bit more than 2.5 to 3 weeks. I know I'm growing incredibly impatient with my moon boot on, but unfortunately not all healed up yet. Not at all, no. I'm just trying to nurse myself back to health as soon as possible so I don't have to walk around with a moon boot when I do go to the seaside, because it's not going to be fun with that heat, right? And then we're also saying hello to Deline, welcome, and Kubis. Kubis is also saying happy birthday for Tuesday. Yes, it was my birthday on Tuesday. Oh dear. Yes, so let's carry on with cedarwood today. So when you're using it topically, it's got the repellent activity, but it's also really cleansing for the skin and really supporting, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail soon. When you're using it internally, when you're using a grade of essential oil that is supplemental, in other words, safe, has got food status, then it's really good for the circulatory system and also calms the nervous system. Rinky, also a new viewer today. Wow, I'm getting some new views. It's very exciting. Growing the audience. And then hello, Alison. I can see you're waving as well. So let's carry on with the nitty-gritties of the cedarwood essential oil. And the first thing I want to talk about is one of the top uses for cedarwood, which is assisting adults and children alike who've got very high levels of energy but have very low attention span. Really good and supportive for that. And it also has, when we start looking at functional medicine and integrative medicine practices, cedarwood is very, or is mentioned quite a lot with regards to low GABA levels, okay? And if we just think, oh, I can see Kunjan is also a new person, new one today. So if we just refer back to that GABA, what is GABA? Because I know in the natural medicine or in the supplementation industry, it is one of those buzzwords, and it's there for a very good reason, because GABA is called in the word is gamma aminobutyric acid, and this is you get it in through diet, obviously, but quite a large percentage of GABA is actually produced by the body and by my favorite topic, the gut microbiome. So if your gut microbiome has been destabilized through the use of medication, for example, things like non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs or antibiotics, there's always a disturbance that takes place, and a lot of the gut bacteria are actually there not only to assist our bodies to digest food, but they produce certain neurotransmitters which our bodies need to stay in balance. And GABA is one of those. Hello, Nicolene. I can see you've also just logged in. Fantastic. Welcome. So GABA is an incredibly important neurotransmitter because it's almost like our brain's brakes. So for those of us that get very overly excited, so what basically happens is there's stimuli that comes into your brain, and then obviously there's certain neurotransmitters that either upregulate or downregulate, but there's always got to be this fine balance about filtering out the noise. So if there's too much stimuli, you can sort of think that things are going to go a little bit haywire, right? So for example, occasional feelings of anxiety, or even when you're feeling very sad, or there's a lot of links between low GABA levels in the medicine world with regards to panic anxiety, for example, depression, as I said, alcoholism, and bipolar disorder. So this is definitely, that break in your brain is there for a very good reason, right? So it sort of just balances everything out. And when you're low in GABA, obviously you are going to have a couple of issues. So when you start thinking about an essential oil that can support those occasional anxious feelings, or when when it has the ability to increase the secretion, for example, of this neurotransmitter, then you know you've got a very nice natural alternative that's not necessarily going to disturb things or give a lot of side effects. So cedarwood has actually been used traditionally quite a lot, specifically also in Native American medicine, obviously for more than 400 years, not realizing that it actually has the ability to support a low GABA level, right? But cedarwood has definitely got an effect or a supporting benefit when you do have low GABA levels. So also consider there's not a lot of side effects actually associated with a too high dose of GABA. If you're on the lower side, there's obviously natural ways that you can increase your GABA production. That's by sorting out your gut health. How do you do that? By decreasing the toxins, by decreasing eating more fermented foods, for example. And you can also be eating foods that are very high in the precursors for GABA. So things like mackerel are really high in GABA. Obviously, you're just going to have to try and find mackerel that's not been grown in a heavy metal or an area where there's quite a lot of heavy metals, because then you're going to get the heavy metal toxicity as well, which is always a pain factor when you're considering that you're going to be taking omega-3 supplements as well. Always be checking out for those heavy metals. But obviously foods that are high in fibers that are going to be supporting good gut health is also going to be really beneficial. So this the GABA itself is actually the sort of precursors to that. You can also assist there by eating foods and high in taurine, or supplements, for example, high in taurine, glutamine, 5-HTP, theanine, all the things that are also associated or precursors for serotonin, by the way. So GABA and serotonin are actually very heavily linked. And that's why using essential oils for me is so incredibly interesting, because if you're using a natural essential oil, that through inhalation can be so incredibly powerful in supporting your brain in either decreasing or increasing certain neurotransmitters. You know, that's just, I just absolutely love nature. I mean, how powerful and amazing is nature? So that is actually one of the top uses for cedarwood, right? Is for when you've got a lower level of GABA. Also then, as I said, the overexcitedness in children or even adults, or when you can't focus on something for a very long time. It also has very good anti-inflammatory properties, so it's really good for body tissues. And because it's got that calming effect, and the effect that increased GABA has, for example, is soothing occasional anxious feelings. When you then have the anti-inflammatory benefit together with that, just think of what it can do, for example, when you're doing quite a lot of exercise, right? Because it soothes and it calms body tissues and it focuses you, it's going to be a really good essential oil, for example, to diffuse while you're doing exercise. It's also really good as an astringent, which is fantastic, obviously, for your skin. And if we compare, for example, wood to floral essential oils, whereas cedarwood is incredibly good for the deeper layers of the skin when you are feeling irritation, when there's an irritation going on. So think more chronic skin conditions. The flower ones are for the upper skin layers. So cedarwood, for example, is a really good essential oil to combine with lavender when you are dealing with slight skin irritations, where the cedarwood is going to work deeper layers, and the lavender, being a floral oil, is going to work more to the skin, the top skin layers. Okay, so there's a really amazing, powerful combination to support really good skin health. Also has antiseptic properties, so there's quite a lot of research showing that cedarwood is really good for supporting a good gum health inside the mouth. Also, because it is antiseptic and it has that relaxing tissue effect, it's also very beneficial when you're struggling with issues in the lower abdomen. Sometimes, because it also, not sometimes, it's always, because cedarwood has a diuretic effect, it can sometimes also assist, for example, with when you're struggling with issues, not only lower abdomen, but more generalized in a sense of your bladder area as well. So cedarwood is, again, an incredibly versatile oil for something that doesn't really have a very strong aromatic component. The therapeutic benefits that you're going to get from using this essential oil is actually quite strong. And then let's get to one of my very favorites, the insect repellent activity, because we are going into mosquito season, whereas lemongrass is especially beneficial in chasing them away. Cedarwood is really good, for example, not only for mosquitoes, but even for moths. So the cloth moths. Let's call them the cloth moths, right? So very well known are cedar blocks. So when you're putting clothes into storage, for example, you buy cedar blocks. And what is it? Well, it's wood from the cedarwood tree. And because of the fragrance of the essential oil, that is in the wood, it actually repels the moths. So I've had some of these cedarwood blocks in some of my boxes of older clothing, especially when I pack my things away for winter, for quite a while, and then it loses the fragrance. So the way I refresh my cedarwood blocks is by adding some cedarwood essential oil on top of it, right? So you're increasing the repelling activity. All right, so this is a really good essential oil to have around. If you're cleaning out your cupboards, for example, making a really low toxin cleaning spray, my cupboards get really dusty because they don't have doors in front of them. So the dust obviously in the area that I live is quite high. So what I do is I make a vinegar and water solution, because the vinegar is obviously really good for mold. And then I add some cedarwood essential oil to that, shake it really well, and then I give my cupboards a good wipe at least once or twice a year, if not more. I tend to add peppermint as well, because peppermint is really good for flies and ants as well. So I make a mixture of the cedarwood and the peppermint essential oil with the vinegar and the water, and I give my cupboards a good clean out a couple of times a year. Really good for those cloth or silver surfers. Fish moths, in other words, right? So those are really beneficial properties for cedarwood. So not only physically for your body, really good in using it around the home. And here's another one. Let's look at a little bit about the emotional side. Because of the cedarwood trees being so incredibly tall with that very deep root system, very grounding, very calming, very soothing to anxious feelings, it's also going to be really good in assisting you with moving from feeling alone to feeling a little bit more connected. So not only is this essential oil going to be really beneficial to diffuse during the festive season when things are, we all think we're going to go on holiday and we're going to chill, we're going to relax, and it's not always the case, because things are a little bit more agitated. You might be around people, extended family, for example, that make you slightly more perturbed or a little bit more anxious. Then obviously the cedarwood is going to be really beneficial there, but also from making you feel very isolated, even though there's a lot of people around you, to feeling more connected to the people that are around you. All right, so really amazing essential oil. So the top benefits obviously being the GABA levels, the anxious feelings, really anti-inflammatory, really good diuretic, antiseptic, and insecticidal. There we go. Tongue twister, that one. So I hope you learned quite a little bit more about cedarwood essential oil today. It's an essential oil from our favorite essential oil company that has been released into the South African market only recently. And it's not an expensive oil either. So it's definitely one that you can use more often now, especially me, because I don't have to import it, don't have to pay the international shipping fee and customs anymore. So I will definitely be using a little bit more routinely in my house cleaning as well, because of the anti-insect benefit that it has. But yes, definitely an essential oil to keep around, specifically going into the festive season. So I hope you learned a little bit more today. I will see you all again next week, Thursday, for my next live in the single series. Today was episode 10. If you do have a suggestion that you would like me to cover specifically quite soon, because you might want to purchase one of these oils for the festive season as a festive gift, and you would like me to chat about it earlier rather than later, please go pop in the comments what you would like me to talk about, and let's see if that can be the feature oil for next week. Oh, I can also see that Catherine and Shelley is logged in. Thank you so much. Welcome, guys. And then Yerika. There we go. So there's a couple of names that came in extra while I was talking away there. Hope to see you all again next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.